Hello, you big, beautiful world. I am King RP, host of Brothers of Many Words. Welcome to our podcast. I am life. I am energy. I am the possibility of what comes next. Moving with purpose, speaking with power, and becoming more every day.
What's going on? I am King Mackie, better known as Haru the Great. Call me necessary.
King Christopher, your co-host. I'm here to recognize truth, evaluate the path, leverage knowledge, wisdom, and discipline, and implement change through action.
Awesome, 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 awesome. King, hit us with that affirmation.
Yes, sir. We stand together as brothers, united in purpose and grounded in respect. We move with love, speak with clarity, and carry peace. No ego, no division, only growth. Each voice matters. Together we build something greater. We are aligned, we are ready. Peace in our energy, power in our unity, and purpose in our message. It is done.
It is done. It is
It's
done.
done.
Today is a Sunday book club powered by Brothers of Many Words. It is a weekly space for meaningful reading, honest conversation, cultural insights, personal growth, and deep understanding. Each book becomes a doorway into wisdom, history, identity, discipline, purpose, and transformation. This year's topic is the origins of Africa, the subject that is only not historical, but deeply powerful, passionate, and alive with meaning. I'm going to hit us with a few words of inspiration here.
Right on.
Okay. J.C. DeGraff Johnson's African Glory reminds us in real time that soul searching begins when a people recover the truth of who they have been. By presenting Africa's ancient civilizations from an African perspective and challenging distorted racist histories, the book turns history into a living mirror, one that asks whether we will keep inheriting erasure or claim dignity through knowledge. Real life becomes deeper when identity is rooted in truth, because a people who remember their glory can rise with greater purpose. I like
Man,
those words.
bro, remember their glory can rise with a greater purpose. That's meaningful all by itself.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is the book, author, African Glory, author J.C. DeGraff Johnson. We're on the last chapter here. We left off on uh, chapter 16, but just give you a brief little overview of 14 from last week, 14 and 15. Actually, it's been 2 weeks ago, if you will, 2 weeks ago. So, chapter 14 was the Portuguese in the Congo. Just a brief overcap was discoveries in Africa, famous travelers such as Duarte Lopez, Christianity trying to establish itself in Africa, European treachery and destruction. Chapter 15, the Portuguese in Central and East Africa. 1445 to 1573 lists all the European explorers that covered the continent at that time. Gold mining, it speaks on the battle between the Moors and Portuguese, trying to influence the people to side with either one of those sides, and the slave trade. And so, chapter 16 is the slavery and the Negro. We left off on page 154, if you will. 154. Let's see here. 154.
Well, can I
Bridget
kick it
King.
off then?
Yeah, go ahead, brother. Kick this thing off.
So, starting on one page 54 at the very bottom, I want to read an insert there. It's talking about the middle passage.
Mm.
The middle passage is where they were taking Africans from Africa over to the new country in the Americas. Here at the bottom of page 154, it says, "Some wet and blowing weather have occasioned the portholes to be shut and grating to be covered. Fluxes and fevers among the Negroes resulted. While they were in this situation, my profession requiring it, I frequently went down among them till at length their apartments became so extremely hot as to be only sufferable for a very short time. But the excessive heat was not only the thing that rendered their situation intolerable. The deck, that is the floor of their rooms, was so covered with the blood and mucus which had proceeded from them in consequence of the flux that it resembled a slaughterhouse. It is not in the power of the human imagination to picture a situation more dreadful and disgusting. Numbers of the slaves had fainted. They were carried on deck, where several of them died, and the rest were with difficulty restored. It nearly proved fatal to me also."
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Just a little
it's
insight on what it looked like on the inside of those bottom of those ships when they were
mm-hmm.
transported.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, man, I don't even know how they even survived passage in those conditions.
He- It was absolutely rough, and I'm with you. And he's right. It's hard to even imagine to being confined in such spaces. And, that middle passage was not like a couple of miles. They was like 50 plus days it took them to get from one side to the other, if you will, to have to live like that. And so 155, I'm just going to read that little excerpt as well, too, in the middle of the page there. When the ship reached the harbor, the cargo came um, up on deck to be bought. And these are the slaves he's talking about. The purchasers examined them for defects, looked at the teeth, pinched the skin, sometimes tasted the perspiration to see if the slave's blood was pure and his health as good as his appearance. Some of the women affected a curiosity, the indulgence of which, with a horse, would have caused them to be kicked 20 yards across the deck. But the slaves had to stand it. Then, in order to restore dignity which might have been lost by too intimate an examination, the purchaser spat in the face of the slave. Having become the property of his owner, he was branded on both sides of the breast with a hot iron. His duties were explained by an interpreter, and a priest instructed him in the first principles of Christianity. Uh, just a crazy ass scene. Excuse my language, but it's just crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Even when it comes down to the math of it, stated that what it say that over 7,900 were embarked, over 2,000 died, and about 55, 5,800 survived, which gave it a 26% mortality rate and a
Yes,
74% survival rate.
yes,
You know,
yes.
No, I mean, it's disgusting what they did. I mean,
And
they
so,
got. I mean, on 155. I mean, it was um, very devastating. I mean,
yeah,
surviving the ship, getting examined like livestock. They get sold. They got branded. Then they got taught Christianity.
yeah,
yeah.
all at the same time, and
Unknown country, unknown religion, unknown. I mean,
yeah,
everything, just unknown.
everything,
Completely
everything.
dehumaned and humiliated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and this is just
Dehumanized.
a brief. I mean, not a brief. This is just a not even a snippet, if you will, of all the horrors that went on, and that what went on that ship. This is just a little bit, and that I mean, it was much more graphic, if you will, and to bring that into these times. I can remember from the brief little sentence, if you were, a little moment in class, it was just like slavery was this, and that was it. It never went into detail, not even close to what these individuals had to suffer and go
And
through.
it was and something to take note. Like I know we like to bring things into the present,
Hmm.
but this is a more modern time of slavery. When we compare this to slavery in the past, this is a completely new form of slavery.
Sure.
I mean, because in the past we read, yeah, people were slaves; they still weren't treated the best, but at least their master took care of them. Like
Hmm.
it was a sense of duty the master had to its constituents. Versus with this kind of slavery, I mean, it was completely just to for greed. I mean, people didn't
Hmm.
want to work the land themselves; they wanted someone else to do it for them. They thought they were lesser, so they deserved to work, or they deserved to be uplifted.
Hmm.
That was a
Yeah,
completely different dynamic than slavery in the past.
Hmm.
yeah. I mean, even in the books I've read, it even states how the British stated that you should enslave the African because of their strength and their
Hmm.
durability. You know what I mean? Their resilience. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? They were doing things that most men could not do. What it would take one man to do, or one African to do would take five other men to do. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? When we talked about the mining and the gold and all that, their
Absolutely.
farming technique and how they did things within the tribe itself, man, they were very resilient people. Very
Absolutely.
resilient people.
Absolutely.
And it made sense almost on why you would captive people with that ability to do that. You know what I mean? I mean, even
Unfortunately.
bring to modern times, people say, "Hey man, you're a big dude. You're a strong looking
Right.
dude," and it makes you
Right.
think about I ain't picking no cotton. You better sit down somewhere now.
Right.
Also,
Right.
they handled the heat a little better too.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
oh yeah, oh
Absolutely.
yeah.
That was a major part of it. That was a major part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else could withstand the heat. To everything that Haru was saying, and
Mm-hmm.
also too, slavery back in antiquity. No, it wasn't rough, and so it was almost like they were indentured service, and so they were able to, they were treated fairly, but they were also able to integrate into the tribe, if you will, and marry and hold positions and things like that along the way.
Right.
It was certainly not as I mean, you can't even compare the two. Just be honest. You can't even
Right.
compare the two.
Right.
Not even freaking
Right.
close.
But it makes sense too. Again, why? I mean, you look here. The Moors ran Europe for 700 years, right,
Mm-hmm.
until 1492, and when they
Mm-hmm.
declared war against the African throughout the world, right,
Mm-hmm.
it had to be harsh because they knew the ability of what they came from. They knew the kingdoms. They understood their background, right, and they understood what they built. And if you kept people in that mindset that they have the ability to overcome anything, they would have done it. You see what I'm saying? I mean, and even look at it to modern times. If you look at, I believe people of the Western world, they still have overcome. Black people have still overcome with businesses and with wealth. Even in spite of having the ancestry or the history of slavery.
That's right.
So I mean, it just still shows the power and resilience of people in general.
That's right. That's a great point. That's a great point.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna read that next paragraph right there because I think it's of significance as well too in that excerpt behind it. Enough has been said of the slave trade and its effects on the Negro, but it may well be asked, as a matter of historical interest, how did the slave trade itself begin? It is commonly supposed that it
Hmm.
began after the discovery of America by Columbus in 1492. But for its
Right.
genesis, we have to go back to the time when Prince Henry the Navigator sent his Captain Ford on exploratory missions along the west coast of Africa. Sir Harry H. Johnson writes, in 1441 to 1442, Antonio Gonsalves and Nuno Tristan passed Cape Blanco on the Sahara coast, and on the return journey called at the Rio de Oro, or River of Gold, whence they brought back some gold dust and 10 slaves. Going on to page 156, these slaves have been sent by Prince Henry to Pope Martin the Fifth. The latter conferred upon Portugal the right of possession and sovereignty over all countries that might be discovered between Cape Blanco and India. I thought that was significant. There's many things there, but for one person to, like the Pope, to just say, you have the right to go get what all you want from that land.
Hmm.
It is ours, no matter not just the gold, but the people themselves.
Hmm. Hmm.
And they
Yep.
went crazy.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
he was the Portuguese that sailed down there and captured those 10 and brought them back to the Queen, right?
Right,
I mean, to the Pope.
right, right,
Back
right.
that was the middle of 1400s.
Many moons ago, King.
Hmm.
Many moons ago. So that on 156, he gives a chronicle, if you will, of an eyewitness account um,
Right.
of what it was like for the slaves. I mean, it's pretty lengthy, but it's a good read. It's a good read. For those who pick
Yeah.
up this book on 156, that is a great insight to what it looked like from start to finish out of slave trade.
Yeah, and this is I think is a hard part for people to put yourself in other people's shoes.
Yeah.
That's the people have a hard time doing that. You know
We
what I
do.
mean? Again, I go back to my movie Swap. I mean, it's a cartoon, but it gives a great point of view of. I mean, when you're tearing away sons from their fathers, wives from their husbands, brothers from their brethren. You know what I mean? I mean, crying, kids crying. I mean, but again, it was a business, it's a commercial business. They dehumanize people and turn them into property, and they still
Yep.
do that to this day. If you look
Yes.
into the child support system, it
Yes.
basically
Yes.
turns your child into a piece of property, and now the
Absolutely.
father owes money to the government or to the state or whoever based upon your child becoming property of the state.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
It's unreal. So
It
we
is,
say
man.
we're not slaves anymore. We are more slaves now. As the
Way
only thing
more.
is we're not being beaten.
Yeah.
You're not being beaten. But hell, I'd rather be beaten, give me a chance to run away than sit here and have this
Well,
silent slavery.
Well, listen,
Hey, Django,
yeah.
I'm a Django that tell, y'all
Yeah.
ain't seen Django
I'm
yet.
with you. Yeah.
When you
Hey,
think
listen.
about it's like that saying people said, like, though that person was raised with a silver spoon in its mouth.
Right.
In reality, we all have. When you
That's
really
right.
think about it, and worldwide, like for our country,
Uh-huh.
we view our position as we're poor because we're basing off other people in America and rich people. When we really think it back to the base level, like we are extremely rich. Okay. And we have been fed with a silver spoon. And that's why most people continue to be in the system and continue to be a slave
I
because
see where you're coming from.
they're
I see
just
where you're
well
coming from.
enough. like, right? They've never really experienced true hardship.
Yeah, yeah. When you talk,
Yeah.
compared to other countries, yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, the Western world has gotten lazy. It is very lazy in the Western world. I
And when
mean,
you see
that's
like the
why.
poor people, like we got the poor people in our country, they go on
Right.
welfare, right? And so
Right.
their basic needs are still being met by the government, and that's why they're still on the nipple. And that's
Yeah.
why it's hard to pull someone off, no matter how old you are. You could still be on that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. You
Yeah.
can certainly get comfortable with that scenario. As a lot of people do, if you will.
Hmm.
A lot of people do.
And you know what? Think about that too. Is that even bringing it back to modern times, people say that a lot of black people are on government assistance. That's not even true. It's only
Mhm.
13% of black people in the United States. I think there's only 1 to 3% of black people are actually on government assistance. And the government assistance program was never created for black people.
Mhm.
It wasn't. It
Nothing.
was created for the ghetto. The ghetto was considered white at the time, European at the time when it was created. It wasn't created for black people. Black people didn't even have a ghetto. It was just nothing.
Sounds great. It was during the World Wars, back in the 40s when they started welfare,
Yeah, but
Mhm.
it wasn't created for black people.
and it was supposed to be temporary,
It
Mhm.
was supposed to be temporary. Yeah,
Mhm.
it
and then
was.
it got taken away. And I mean, there's just
Yeah.
more that. No, it's not just more black people. I mean, there is a lot of black people that are on welfare, but there's more white people because, for one, there's more white people in the country.
It is. That it
Mhm.
is. But I mean,
And there's a lot of poor
generalized.
white people, man.
Oh
And
yeah.
I hate the food stamp system, because you know how many times I've gone to a grocery store like down the road at Save a Lot, and I had people come up to me and ask me, "I'll buy your groceries if you give me cash so I can buy cereal."
Mm.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
like
Yeah.
trying to trade me real money for their food stamps. I'm
Mhm.
like, no, man.
Right.
For one, it's already my money.
Mhm.
You already got, like, no, and that's wrong. I'm like, I've called a person out before because she came up
I
to me
used to
2
do it.
times.
Mhm.
And
I used to do it, bro.
I was in Save Lot and I said, hey, attention everyone, this person is on food stamps. They're trying to sell food stamps for cigarettes and alcohol. It sounds like this person does not need food and does not need welfare, but they're taking it from the system. She
Yeah.
got embarrassed and walked out.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I ain't gonna lie. I don't know what they bought it with, but I mean, you had the sisters back in the day, the hood. You go
Mhm.
over there, they be like, bro, I give you $20 and $50 and
Mhm.
food stamps for $100. I'd be like, hey, here you go. I don't care what you do.
Stay.
With it. Get my
It's
$250
still-
from.
That still happens
Hey.
today. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I used to run it. Hey, I used to run it. I used to run it. But I mean, overall, man, we got, our system is fraudulent. And here's the thing about it: we criticize people for a fraudulent system. It makes no sense. Here's the government basically tells you we can't pay our bills. Guess what we're gonna do? We're just gonna print money.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, hey, RP, hey, I can't pay my electric bill this month. I'm just gonna go to the printer downstairs and print another
Right.
electric bill. And,
Where's that
I'll be
action
good to
at?
go. Yeah,
Where's
I'll be
that
good to
action
go.
at?
I mean,
Where is
again,
my printer?
we criticize people in a fraudulent system, and it makes no sense because it just creates confusion to me. You know what I
No
mean?
system.
It's confusion.
You're right. You're right. All right, Kings, on 157. I thought this page was interesting as well. I mean, the whole thing is, and so that little second paragraph: the slave trade had begun. Edmund B. de Abergoni commented on this idea of saving enslaved Africans from perdition writes, hunting people often say they hunt the fox and deer in order to save these poor animals from being exterminated by the cruel farmers. Dom Henry's motive for kidnapping black folk at the statuaries of the Senegal and Gambia may have been similarly unselfish.
Yeah,
Hunting people.
yeah. The church accepted the slave trade. That's just what we need
Yes.
to realize.
Yes.
Black people, hey, people in general, the church accepted the slave trade. If
The
y'all,
church.
the church, y'all,
Christianity, which you bow
Yes, to
down
be
and preach
specific.
to today.
oh my God, be shouting and would fall over if the pastor waved their hand throughout the audience. It makes no sense.
When they gave Prince Henry or the Pope blessed the situation, if you will, he loaded up all of his ships with everything that he needed. It was like, initially it wasn't that way, but when they got the okay or the blessing, they literally loaded up with all the ammo, the horses, the whole nine, and specifically went into Africa to hunt people
Yes.
down.
I mean, it's human trafficking.
It is. It's human,
It was human trafficking.
It is
and
human
it started with the
trafficking.
church.
Yes.
I want to say,
Yes.
this page, they use religion was used to justify the kidnapping and captives were supposedly
Mhm.
they were using religion to justify kidnapping, and the
Mhm.
captive to supposedly save the captive spiritually, right?
Mhm.
And then when the slavery became profitable and normalized, religious people debated whether Africans even had souls. So, I mean, that is a huge poisonous contradiction that the system claimed to save souls
Mhm.
while
Mhm.
questioning whether they had souls or not.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, again, it is still happening. They are still dehumanizing black
Yes.
folks to this day. I mean,
Yes.
it's when you look into the prison system and the things like that. I mean, again, it's still happening to this day, and
Absolutely.
most don't care, you know. I mean, but the hardest thing is people have a hard time putting on other people's shoes and just stepping in and say, you know what, this is wrong, regardless if we have souls or not. You
Mhm.
know, I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. We have eyes, we have nose, we have a mouth, we have ears. We all bleed red, as
Mhm.
Nick would say, in his
Mhm.
absence. And it
Mhm.
just makes no sense that we allow other people to think that way and still think this way to this day. How Christianity is pulsating through the Western world.
I mean, that's one of the reasons why I quit being a guard up there at the JCCC and Jeff, because I didn't agree with it, man.
Oh, bruh.
Mhm.
I used to be a bail bondsman, and I would get calls when they got on the list, and I started letting these guys. Matter of fact, I let these 4 kids out in Tennessee. They drove from Tennessee to Missouri to go to a party in the middle of the woods, and they get out there and they get arrested. All 4 of them, and they were pretty decent boys. I looked the background, I talked to their parents and things like that. But check this out: when I went to go bail them out of jail, I got a call from a deputy about an hour later questioning me why I did that, and I said, "Well, that's my job. That's my job." And I told these boys, I told their parents, I said, "Don't you bring your butt back over here in the Missouri like that again."
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
you got out. Thankfully, I
Right.
was able to get you guys out when I did. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
but my whole point is, I've known men who have been in jail or in prison. I say jail for over a year or two on minor charges with no bond. And then when I get a call from a family member or a friend who questioning about it, and I call the judge and ask him, or call the jail and find out, then there's a bond on record because now somebody's called concerned. It's
Right.
it's it's ridiculous.
It
Right.
is,
It's
man.
just, and it's a sad case.
Yep.
It's a sad case, but it ain't just black people now. It's everybody.
That's
It
I
right.
mean,
is.
if you're below the totem pole of or within poverty, I mean, you're considered a slave.
That's
You
right.
know, I mean, no doubt. You
That's
know,
right. That's right.
Eighty
That's
percent of
right.
those people in prison are in there for non-victimless crimes.
oh yes. Well, it's just
And like
like
it,
immigrants right now. The immigrants, 75% of immigrants who are in these camps don't even have a criminal background.
Mhm.
But
that's
again,
why I
it's
was talking
commercial.
about like we should
Mm-hmm.
ID them, and if like there's no reason to send them back if they're already part of our community, give them a chance to become a citizen.
Yeah.
I mean,
Give
over
them put
4,000 kids are missing.
Yeah.
Immigrant kids are missing. In I
Mhm.
mean, that's
that's intentional. Our government is
yeah.
involved with child trafficking, man.
Sure.
Oh yeah. Oh
Absolutely.
yeah.
I
And
mean,
we've known from.
The Epstein files prove that. And there's
Mhm.
so much information redacted. We know their names are right there,
Mhm.
Oh, you brought
Mhm.
up a
and we
sticky
know
situation.
and we know
Well, hold on. Well,
President.
hold on. Well, hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
Them episode, you brought up a sticky situation. I'm surprised Nick ain't chimed in yet. Where the hell is Nick at? Oh my goodness.
Oh man, for real.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But
On
yeah,
page, go ahead.
go ahead. No. That
So
was it. That was it.
on 157, right there at the bottom, we talk about Christianity. So gonna tie that into some of the views that got the Reverend John Newton, rector of St. Mary Woolnorth of London. Author of the popular hymn "How Sweet the Name of Jesus Sounds." Well, I'm gonna read
Mm, mm.
his excerpt from his memoirs there on page 158 and his view of what he thought. This is of Reverend. During the
Yeah.
time I yeah, during the time I was engaged in the slave trade, I never had the least scruple as to its lawfulness. I was upon the whole satisfied with it, as the appointment Providence had marked out for me. Yet it was, in many respects, far from eligible. It was indeed counted a Gentile employment and usually very profitable, though though to me it did not prove so. The Lord seeing that a large increase of wealth would not be good for me. However, I consider myself as a kind of gaoler or a turnkey, and I was sometimes shocked with the employment that was perpetually conversant with chains, bolts, and shackles. In this view, I had often petitioned in my prayers that the Lord, in His own time, would be pleased to fix me in a more humane calling.
Yeah, yeah.
Listen, because I was going to, like, we literally from page 154 could have read every page, and that's what I was thinking. I mean, because it really is insane.
hmm Yeah.
Just to hear the views and the thoughts and um, what these individuals had to go through.
Bro, they even use body parts. I came
Yeah.
across a reading where if European man had an issue with his leg, they would cut off the leg of an African man and attach it to the European man. It's cannibalism.
What?
I mean, oh yes,
Yeah.
oh yes. I mean, bro, even back in Egypt, I mean, European people were eating mummies, trying to become more godly.
Mhm.
I mean, it was a point in time where the hatred just went beyond like.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like Trump and Obama. You know, people
Mhm.
swear Trump's got obsession over Obama. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that point of view. Matter of fact, I was watching Superman the other day, the last Superman with what's his name, Luke Lexer, or the bald headed guy, Lex Luthor. He was obsessed with Superman. Obsessed with Superman. I mean, couldn't think of anything else but how he could destroy Superman. And to me, when I think about the slave trade, that's what it reminds me of, is that there were people who just obsessed with black people in any way, whether that meant to kill them, you know, they were intrigued by what they did or couldn't do or what. I mean, it's just the thought process. Like, I'm trying to figure out the psychological point
Right.
of being that hateful to people, right? And to go to a point where you're cutting them up and castrating them and cutting heads. And I mean, I'm trying to think of, like, I just can't phantom that thought. Do you know what I mean? It's hard to think about the psychological standpoint that people had to do that. It really
You know,
is.
and so they were doing that too, you know, because they wanted to try and gain the essence of
Yes,
black people.
but they had no soul, though, right? You had no soul, but they had essence.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But they would absolutely eat them in. Yes. What about, so on page 158? I thought this was interesting too. It is interesting to record that under, I'm on the third paragraph there, the will of General Christopher Codrington, the Society for the Propagation of the Gospel received in trust 3 estates with their Negroes for the endowment of medical and theological studies.
Yep. You already know. That's why I brought that up. You already know.
I mean, it was very, very contradictory, very hypocritical, these Christians. I mean, John Newton could pray deeply while commanding a slave ship.
Yes.
A missionary could preach the gospel while owning enslaved people.
Yeah.
An African ex-slave could be educated into defending slavery as compatible with Christianity.
Yeah.
It's all backwards. It's all.
I'm like, what Bible were they reading back then?
They
Like,
no telling.
They say it's the same one. If they were reading the King James Version, when I look at the King James Bible, like, it has nothing in there where it talks about taking someone as a slave.
Right.
Or
It
someone.
does. No, it does. Yeah, it does. The New Testament talks about slaves. If your slaves hit you, if your slave master hit you, I forgot where it's at, but I have to chat GB. But it does.
No, what I'm getting at is there's nowhere in the Bible where Yeshua supports slavery.
Well, his
In the
messenger supports slavery. It's the New Testament. His messenger supports slavery. Yeah, look it up. I don't know. It might be Paul. I forgot exactly who did, but I know
Paul's the one that wrote pretty much the whole New Testament.
The New Testament. Yeah, it's
when you actually look at the teachings of Jesus, no, he didn't teach slavery. Now the Christians like to talk about that. And they like to defend that, but no, he didn't. They twist his words into it's all about belief. But they actually weren't going for what the Bible was actually talking about.
Yeah. Well, I know the New Testament mentions it. And so, I mean, if it's in the Bible, you know how people are. It's got to be truthful. This guy, it came from God, and God gave it to this person, and it's facts, and it's in his blood, and we eat his bread every Sunday,
Every Sunday. Every Sunday, every Monday, every Tuesday, every Wednesday.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything else on 158?
158. No, you're good, bro.
About 159.
Let's see.
Mm,
Looking at my notes. Nope. Nothing on 159.
160.
you know what? I might, yeah. Just one quick thing, just to go off from the previous page, but
Mhm.
once again, it's kind of talking about how they would take slaves, right, and then manipulate and brainwash their minds into defending the system they're a part of.
Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the amount of manipulation and brainwash, like, and be able to do that to somebody. Wow.
Mhm. Well, you know, back 158 there, that last paragraph, that first sentence, the church's attitude towards slavery and the slave trade was so unsympathetic that even African Christians appear to have sympathized with the trade in human flesh. Terry, you talking about the brainwashing and
Yes.
things like that. I mean,
Yeah.
hey, you know, when you're being beaten and you see the horrors that these people had to go through, you know, it's going to have a psychological effect. And so, you know, we talked about, you know, the physicality of slavery, you know, so that's where it started out. But as we read through the religion and Christianity, through the creeds and whatnot, how they took it from the physicality, they took it straight to the head. They started invading your mind. So from that point is where we are now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the
Yeah.
body and the mind wants to survive, and so you put it in a bad enough situation, it's going to adapt, and that
Oh,
means
yeah.
just accepting what is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can only imagine being a king or a general of a particular tribe, and your son just got chopped up, and your daughter just got thrown to alligators, and your wife just got raped by 10 guys, and they're you know, it's horrific. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I can't even imagine it. You know, like Hoover stated, we can't even imagine the evil in our midst. So it's
Mhm.
hard to imagine that. But you know, it might change your mind about where you stand on certain things.
Sure.
You know, I
Sure.
mean, again, we have to really look into what was going on. I mean, what they literally did. We say it all the time. I hear people say all the time, Africans traded Africans for slavery. Man, it wasn't just like free will. Like I'm just
No.
going to do it because I'm going to do it. It when you again, they're going to kill your whole family and to make sure that you stand by what they believe in. I mean, they did the
But
same thing to the indigenous people of the Western world. You know,
mhm. Mhm.
the Indians. They did the same thing.
Mhm. And you know, but and sometimes, well, it seems like a lot of times they didn't kill him right off the bat. They did unspeakable things before your
Yes, they did.
eyes,
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
to your
Oh
children,
yes.
to your
Mm-hmm.
wife, to the
Mm-hmm.
men.
Yes, they did. Yes, man. I have read stories of black slaves as big as Robert being chained to a nightstand, and the slave master got up many times throughout the night just to have sex with him.
Yeah.
I mean, it is untar and feathered black men,
Yes.
6'5",
Yes.
260 pounds, tarred and feathered in front of his son
Yeah.
and his wife, just to get that child to be obedient, because now your father is being condemned, and guess what you do? You're going to follow by the same obedience,
Hmm.
just due to the fact of what your father just went through.
Well, if you see your dad get done like that, I
Oh
mean,
yes.
and he's as massive to what you just
Mm-hmm.
said, what shot do you got?
Right.
What shot do
Right.
you got?
You
So
feel
on page
helpless.
161, it goes into the revolt against slavery. The
Right.
abolitionists, you have the Quakers and Mr. Glanville
Mm-hmm.
Sharp and Jonathan Strong come into the picture. And those gentlemen denounced slavery, if you will, and took a
Right.
stand for it. They took a
Right.
stand for it over there in England.
Mm-hmm. The
So
Quakers were a
strong.
very popular family. The
Yep.
Quakers, they were a very prominent family.
Mm-hmm. 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 And it's because of them, you know, eventually that on page 162, Mr. Glanville's effort, you know,
Mm-hmm.
got it to where let's see that first paragraph. It was Glanville Sharp's efforts which led to the famous decision by Lord Chief Justice Mansfield on June 22nd, 1772, in the case of James Somerset, a runaway slave, the property of Mr. Stewart of Jamaica. The significant words of Lord Mansfield's decisions were basically, I'll read that. The state of slavery is such a nature that it is incapable of being introduced on any reasons but only by positive law. It is so odious that nothing can be suffered to support it but positive law. Whatever inconveniences, therefore, may follow from the decision, I cannot say the case is allowed or approved by the law of England. And therefore, the black must be discharged. So he was let go, and so that was a landmark case right there in
Mm-hmm.
in England, because that opened up the door to um, for those who knew that they could go to England and have a shot at being free.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Something I want to bring up with them with Britain getting rid of slavery here
Hmm.
is I think there's a reason why they got rid of it at this time. I think for one, we were talking about how the slaves were eventually just accepting their fate, right, and they're kind of getting
Mm-hmm.
brainwashed. But at the same time, that wasn't happening for everyone. There was
No.
enough. They were still standing up. They were still revolting, and
Mm-hmm.
the slaves were still fighting back.
Hmm.
And
Right.
I think this is the reason why it switched over to stopping slavery in Great Britain is because the business kind of reached its climax and peak. And I think they started getting diminishing returns. And so
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
instead of, then they used it as like, we're going to be good people. And we're going to turn this
Hmm.
thing around now.
Hmm.
I
Right.
think they just realized that they couldn't make any more money. There was
Right.
Hmm.
too many revolts and they couldn't control
Right.
them anymore. And
I do
so
agree.
they started writing laws to do away with it.
Well,
Right.
and so
But making themselves the good people.
sure, and you got to take into account America was coming alive at this time too.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
So to everything that you said, so on page 163, that middle paragraph, as Peters and his band of settlers carved out a new colony in Africa, the fight against the slave trade and against slavery was continued in England. And in 1807, England was to declare the slave trade illegal, in spite of strong opposition from vested interests. The next year, 1808, saw the United States of America also declaring the slave trade illegal. And at the Congress of Vienna in 1815, most European powers followed suit. The fight against slavery itself had to continue, however, and Thomas Foxwell Buxton was to be the leading light in this last onslaught. In 1833, the abolition of slavery was secured, and the British Parliament agreed to pay 20 million to compensate those who were to be compelled to give up their slave owners. So even though these laws went into effect, doesn't mean that slavery ended, because it
Not
was
just
still,
right there. It was a
yeah,
process.
it was the process. And
And it
to be,
started like on that page, it shows the ugly contradiction between of the abolition.
hmm
Um, that the enslavers were being compensated
I was
for
just getting ready
losing
to
their
say that.
slaves, and while the enslaved were not. That's totally out backwards. Like if you realize this was
Yes.
wrong and these people were enslaved, you should be compensated and helping the enslaved people get on their feet.
Oh man, you can't make it up, brother.
And then
Yeah.
you call yourself Christian?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
first of all, the Bible says nothing about being Christian anyway. So it's just a false hope.
Mm, 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 mm. And to see that last paragraph going on to page 164, where it says one French historian quoted by Udding says it is no exaggeration to say that 100 million people were lost to Africa as a result of it. Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, the eminent Afro American historian, also believes that Africa lost about 100 million souls as a result of the slave trade. 100 million people. He
Mhm.
said 100 million people.
It's pretty nasty.
You know, I'm gonna have to do some study on W.D. Du Bois.
Hmm.
My thing is now, and I'm kind of getting off topic, but I think our world is ran by black people.
I mean,
I
you
do.
mentioned that.
I
Yeah.
do. I really do. I believe there is a society because to understand black people, I feel like you really have to be black to understand it
Hmm.
and to understand how the rhythm. And I don't think it's just a European thing. They read a couple books and did some genealogy and figured it out. I do believe there were some Moors that broke off. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? And created a society to run the world. I do.
Hmm.
I hadn't got my. I've come across some things about the Moors about that, and I've come across some other people who believe the same thing. I just got to do some deeper research on that, and once I do,
Hmm.
I will expose it.
Bring it to light, King. Hey,
I will bring it to light.
question everything.
Yes.
Question everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, since we're going off slightly off topic, let me bring up this. Have you heard of of some of the ancient astronauts and ancient aliens? Historians talk about that black people were the original. Uh, what am I trying to say? The original species on this planet, as humans, and that the Caucasians were sent here from another planet, still being humanoid but different. That like this is not the white people's home planet, but this is the black people's home planet.
I haven't heard that.
I hadn't heard that. I heard it in the opposite because even when I watched Spider-Man, when I watched Superman the other day, you know what I mean? Superman is a being, is extraterrestrial from another planet, but he is strengthened by the sun. There's only one group of people here who are really strengthened by the sun, and that's black people. You know what I mean? And
That's
so
what I'm meaning is like you guys handle the heat better, and the here on the planet while white people can't. We can't handle the sun. I mean, if I go out in the sun for like right now with the sun blaring, I can't go out there for more than 2 hours without taking a break, or I'm gonna get burnt. You know, I need to take a break from that, recover my skin up.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I hadn't heard it in your direction. I've heard it in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I mean, when we came here, we became very connected to the earth. I mean, just like, you know, I think about the Devil's Tower. I forget where that's at, but it looks like a huge tree that was cut off. But, you know, I just started thinking about that. I'm like, the devil is supposed to be below us, not above us. You know what I mean? And, matter of fact, I watched Avatar. There's a new Avatar out. Me and the kids started watching yesterday. And I think
that's right. So do we.
And so, you know, it's got me thinking, you know what I mean? It really does really have me thinking about in a world that was beyond this world, how black people were very connected to this world. And then just like when you know, European people came over here, they started cutting down these massive trees, massive trees. I mean, that's a whole story by itself. I'm talking about massive. I'm not talking about just 20 feet around. I'm talking about massive trees and cutting, I mean, to a point where it took hundreds of people to cut this tree down. You know what I mean? And so I believe that black people are very connected to this world at one time. And I believe everybody was. You know what I mean? I don't think it was just a black thing. You know, matter of fact, I shouldn't even use the word black because black means colorless. You know what I'm saying? I've learned that over the week.
No, actually, you're wrong. Black black doesn't mean colorless. White is the absence of color.
Black, that is true.
Black is the presence of all colors.
Well, there we go. I just learned something today.
Yeah, we did.
Yes,
we did.
Well, I wanted to clarify.
Appreciate you, Christopher.
Yeah, man. I don't believe in that. I mean, just, you know, things I see when I'm you know, going through the scrolling and the reels, just like you hear some wild ideas. That's just one thing I've heard.
Yeah.
Tinfo.
Yeah.
Tinfo.
Yeah.
All right, Kings, moving on to chapter 17. Chapter 17, the Coromantee Negro at home. The Coromantee Negro at home. So this is referring to a people on the Gold Coast. Hold on here. And so I looked up that name, and so it's not even a people. The name is derived from a Guyanan slave fort, Fort Coromantine, in the Guyanan town of Coromantee. And so it is the English language term for enslaved people from the Akan ethnic group. So it's not even their name; it's for enslaved people. I thought it was a culture, but that's not it.
Right. Yeah.
Well, the author talks about that the Coromantee Negro of the Gold Coast, says who had not bowed to slavery, and that they stood for liberty and freedom, and was now free from the fear of sudden transportation and slavery. So they never bowed down to the slavery.
Right.
Yep.
Right. We're very rebellious. Very rebellious.
Yes, they were. Good people. Good people. Fight for your rights. 167. Got to. So 167, I seen on that first paragraph, and I only did this because we had talked about this last week in open mic, and so they tried to impose a tax on the people of the Gold Coast, if you will, and the people said no, we ain't doing that. And so that last sentence there, the people repudiated the agreement and refused to pay this tax. As a democracy, the people were the sovereign power in the state, and they well demonstrated it 100 years ago. So I thought we just spoke on sovereign.
And we don't do that anymore, man. We don't stand up and say no, we're not paying this tax. We just fucking we bend over and say give it to me.
Yeah.
I mean, we do, man.
Yeah,
we do. You know what? I've come to the conclusion that most men standing to this day are cowards. And I can include myself with that. You know what I mean? We look at our kids and our family every single day. You know what I mean? And to see the state of mind that people are in these days, to see the state of mind of our country, You know, Chris always brings up about the surveillance state that we're living in. It's scary. I mean, me and my wife are outside talking, and you know, we kind of hang out in the basement in the garage, just kind of don't wake the kids up. But you don't even want to talk in your own house.
Yeah.
Because there's cameras everywhere. You don't even want to say certain things. Like I have gentlemen I've talked to on the phone. I start getting on one topic. Everybody just gets quiet with me. You know what I mean? I'm like, let's stop being afraid. But it's scary that we're already almost conditioned, right? Conditioned not to speak outside of our comfort.
Because we are.
Yeah.
We are conditioned.
We are. Yeah.
And it's hard to deconstruct.
I don't understand it. I don't understand how can it be hard? Do you know what I mean? But again, I do. I'm with you.
Yeah, no doubt, Kings. No doubt, Kings. The on page 167, so we see that the read that little part, the people of the Gold Coast were starting to feel some type of way about the British in that poll text, if you will.
Right.
And so they did not like that. And so on page 168, what I got from that is that civil unrest was still continuing. A mutiny broke out. The British wanted to find out what was the cause of the problem and sent Colonel Ord to investigate and to find out that the people were being treated horribly.
Right.
They would be treated really, really bad.
Yeah, British rule was not going well on the Gold Coast.
No, man, it was not. And again, that's one of those things you don't hear about either.
Yeah,
And,
I mean,
the Gold Coast, that is like modern day Ghana now, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So people understand when we talk about the Gold Coast, that's what we mean. It's modern day Ghana.
Yeah. Yeah. Governor Hill describes events like attacks on officials, confiscation of rum, stoning soldiers, interfering with government supplies. Like it was going again, you know, like Chris brought. It wasn't the fact they were like, oh yeah, we're going to be nice all of a sudden. It's like, no, it's not worth the risk. We're losing money. It's just everything's at a decline. You know what I mean? And so they had to do that. The British had it was necessary for them to do that to come to a point where just to reverse the slave trade.
And then because of that, like the people in Africa, they were not unified. Some people were showing force towards Britain. Some of the chiefs and the leaders were trying to work with Britain, and some of them were fighting amongst each other. It was a complete chaos.
Right.
But and it was because of the British trying to impose their rule on it. And then there was a lot of sneaky backdoor deals where the British was promising these leaders protection, and then when the time came they needed protection, they were like, nah, you figure it out yourself. You go figure that out. I'm not going to mess with you.
Yeah.
But just get ready to get into that.
Just straight up hypocrite, like liars, just hypocritical. Very, very, very much so hypocrites.
The Strait of Hormuz is open. It's closed. It's open. We got a good deal. No, it's closed. No, they messed up. No, Israel just bombed them. Yep.
Yeah,
confusion.
that you're exactly right. They were pitting them against one another and telling them this. Well, if you do this, we'll the British government has you, and then we come to find out the British government's like, no, we don't got you. You're on your own if you go start the fight. So it's basically between he was trying to get Mr. Simpson, if you will, to get to attack the Ashantis, you know, because they were powerful, and so he was doing dirty work, backdoor deals with these guys, and you know, it goes back into I think we spoke on it before about how, you know, they created that state of confusion, if you will, you know, pitting one against another, and
you guys think that's actually happening now? Like, I feel like on a global scale, like all of our world leaders are working with each other. Like, you know, China's leaders working with Russia, Russia's working with us. We're all working together, all this playing this game. And then like, our country calls China like, hey man, I'm going to say this, you say this, that's going to cause this country to do that, and these people are going to think this way, and we're going to make money.
On the Superman I just watched, that's exactly what was going on. Lex Luthor was doing business with a president and giving the president giving half the country for X amount of money. Bro, it's all a game. Here's the thing about it. The governments are playing chess and we're over here playing checkers.
And they're playing, and then they're playing off in America. They're playing off American patriots. They're playing them hard.
Yeah.
Oh yes. I mean, just like they did with the Western world, you get the people, the rich people get poor people to fight for them, basically, because they try to get them to
conditioned
stand for
to think a certain way.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's
Yeah.
the heart of it all, bro. I mean, when we started
Yeah.
even thinking about the Moors and religion, I didn't realize the Moors fought each other.
A lot.
They were rough against each other.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? I mean,
even when Mansa Musa was running the show, there was still a lot of violence
Absolutely.
going on.
mhm.
It wasn't like
Absolutely.
it was all. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
wealthy, they were rich. He took care of his people, but there was
Mhm.
still a lot of ugliness in the world. It wasn't
Yeah.
like
Oh,
all
yeah.
just flowers and rainbows and sunshine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
No, it
like once you
wasn't.
recognize once you recognize the true wealth of gold, it became a problem. And then with
Became a
religion
problem.
attached to that, it became a problem. When it was just a decorative thing, and oh yeah, I feel good, I'm wearing a necklace, you know, I look good, it shines in the sun. But when it became, oh, I can buy what with this, or I can do what with this, it became huge.
Well, you know, to the
It was a turning
Africans,
point.
yeah, to the Africans, it was, oh man, you know, this looks good.
Yes.
You know, yeah,
Yes.
this looks good because they were so used to it.
Gives me
But then,
power. Yeah, I feel it.
you get
Mhm.
you get the foreigners to come in and they like, well, how does that translate outside of this? What can I
Right.
get for this? And it's like,
Right.
well, they got a bunch of it. They got tons of it. They just wearing it everywhere. Not realizing
Yes.
that to get that stuff out the ground was hard.
Yes.
It was
Yeah.
very, very hard.
Walking
You
around
know?
with a 7-inch herringbone. You like, that's a 7-inch herringbone. I mean, goodness gracious.
You know what I mean? My family
it's
will be
just
set for
decoration.
life. Yeah,
It's old. It's just, I got out the closet. It's old.
Oh my gosh. So on 171 to what we were talking about, and to tie this all together about how they were using one against the other. So page 171, that first paragraph there, the Secretary of State's letter shows a great deal of light on the activities of men on the spot. It shows clearly how such men goaded the inhabitants of the colony with threats and promises to adopt a hostile attitude toward their kinsmen, the Ashantis, and how, excuse me, and how if Ashanti herself was not directly threatened and insulted by the British government, the actions of the officers on the spot amounted to such insults and threats. Now, those who had been incited and goaded to adopt a hostile attitude toward the Ashantis were to be told that the inciting letters had been withdrawn and that they were to rely on their own resources. So they were absolutely doing dirty work.
Mhm.
Yeah, the British was trying to create conflict amongst the African people, and then
Mhm.
promise one group help when the other Africans would attack them.
Yes.
Didn't
And
they
then
do
what-
that? The same thing in Morocco.
Yeah.
The exact same thing.
Enlighten
Yeah.
me.
Remember the Queen Elizabeth was trying to play to the
Mhm.
Sultan, the
Mhm.
one that
Yes.
yes,
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I remember
dirty
now.
work.
Yes.
I mean, it's ugly, man.
It
It's
always
crazy.
repeats itself. It just repeats itself.
just
I mean,
repeats
honestly,
itself.
it does. You'll be a fool to continue to fall for the same thing.
I mean,
It
it's a
just
lot
re-
easier to take control of somebody if you can cause problems amongst themselves.
No
But
doubt,
you know, that's the whole
man.
point too of modern times where we don't read history. That's why this is so
Mhm.
important. We don't read world
Mhm.
history. So we don't understand what we're going through. We think this is all new to us. Do you know what I mean? We think it's all new
Right.
to us.
It's the
Right.
same game. It's just played with different technology.
Yes, it is. Bro, you took the words right out of my mouth on that one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What about 172? What about 172?
So we too.
Y'all ahead.
It says my main point here is that the British colonial government saw organized African self-government as a threat. The Fonte Confederacy presented
Mhm.
itself.
Yes.
The Fonte Confederation or Confederacy presented itself respectively. They said they wanted to improve their people, promote education and industry, and cooperate with the British were useful, but the colonial administration still threatened the movement as dangerous. They didn't want them
Yes.
to have their own power.
They
Right.
didn't want them to have their own power, and
Mhm.
that the Fanti Confederacy was a big deal.
Yes.
It was a big deal.
It was.
You know, to everything that you said, because they wanted to prove that they could take care of themselves and govern themselves.
Mhm.
And you're right, the British, they did not like that at all.
And I wanted to clarify when it says the Fanti Confederacy,
Uh-huh.
just so people understand, it's not the same type of confederacy that was in America. Like we talk
No.
about the Confederate
Right.
side. This confederacy wasn't a rebellion organization. The
Right.
Confederacy was just Africans in the community tired of the bullshit, and they wanted to get together and unify together and create their own
Right.
power. And so they were trying to help each other while
Right.
Britain didn't want that.
Right.
So they weren't being rebellious to Britain. They just wanted to be able to handle their own stuff without the help from Britain. Like, hey, we don't need you. We can
Right.
delegate our own. We can create our own politics. We can govern ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, even so to the point they didn't like it so much that they arrested some of them.
Yes, they did.
Yes,
They
They
sure
arrested
did.
them.
the king, the king of where did I write it down? Man? Help me out here.
Acting Administrator Mr. Salmon
yeah.
regarded that Confederacy is a dangerous conspiracy. As a result, several Confederacy officials were reported imprisoned and murdered.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
a
yes.
modern day connection with this is governments still often treat independent grassroots as organizations as suspicious when it grows outside of official control. So
Absolutely.
movement,
Seeing that right now.
Yeah. I mean, we've been seeing it. Martin Luther
Yeah.
King, Malcolm X. I mean, the Black Panthers, the White Panthers, the Color Coalition.
Well, you throw Africa in there as well too. Any leader that has risen up to oppose
Yes.
the
Oh,
colonial
yes.
rule, they have
Yes.
been assassinated.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, you imagine what they did if we got a couple thousand dark-skinned fellas and a couple thousand light-skinned fellas to work together.
Right. I don't even know they would give
It
us
would blow their
letters.
minds.
If we could even get 150 of them in a room together without it being a problem with, bro, I mean, I've literally seen, just, and this is just modern times, but I've literally seen some kids in Texas, 4 black kids at a park just hanging out. They took the basketball goals down, and then somebody calls the cops on them saying they look suspicious. I don't even think you could get 1,000 black brothers together without it throwing 1,500 red flags. I don't believe you could.
Why do you think they want to keep us separated so much?
Because
We see it, and even
Oh,
amongst
yeah.
ourselves. Like some people don't like it, like when we mix. Like why do they want to not let that happen? Why?
Hey, brother, many words probably already on a Fed list already.
Probably.
We're already on the Fed list
Probably.
already. 2 military, 2 law enforcement. That's scary by itself.
While you playing, it's like I'm waiting for a knock at my door sometimes.
Yeah, or a letter.
letter.
Hey, we need you guys to cease and desist. I don't think so.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What about 173? 173. 174. Oh, no, 173 is when I believe I got out there. The letters were the misinformation, if you will. There were certain letters that were sent that didn't get reported properly.
Yeah.
To some of these kings and chiefs of these places, and so that was the start of the confusion,
It was.
if you will. And
Yeah,
so on
it brought
page
on-
174, I got out there. Mr. Richard Pine is his name, trying to create a compact between the kings and chiefs of the interior without British assistance, which he told them, if you go to war with one another, we're not going to be there to back you. You're on your own. However, he got sick, and so upon hearing those words, those chiefs and kings, that's when they decided that they knew that they were going to have to take care of themselves. So that's when the Fanti Confederation became a big deal for them.
What about the Pope on this? What about John Pope Hensley? Isn't it Hensley, who became the governor of Sierra Leone and the West African settlements? And according to his account, Hensley reviewed early actions against the Confederacy. One notable detail is that he suspended the enforcement of proclamations until he had an investigation of the matter himself. I mean, it's just no unity was accepted. You know what I mean? Just like Hoover says, we're not going to allow any Black Messiah to come in and unify or electrify. He said unify or electrify, not even just the militant part. Unify or electrify. I just thought that was just.
And listen, so that was this is 1872. We're talking about Mr. Hennessy. So Hoover was almost 100 years after that. So you could see that the mindset was still the same. There is, as we talk about the communication between the two, there's you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
This is 100 years after, and it's still the same.
It is still the same. It's still the same, and it's not even questionable now. You know what I mean? I questioned it. I questioned it a couple years ago, but now that I'm reading about history of things, now I understand why. Why? Now I understand why.
I mean, it's still that way today, like you said. Powerful countries still create security arrangements and protectorates, alliances, and aid agreements or military partnerships where smaller nations depend on them but when real danger comes, they
Yes.
don't get involved. That's
Right.
still going on today.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So right, bro.
Sure is. I'm gonna move on to page 174, and that's the those bottom two paragraphs, and I think on into 175, and I think these are of great significance. Following this, let's see, we are just talking about the Federation and how it was um, they didn't want it to happen. So following this, we then have a proclamation issued by Colonel Conran, then administering the government of these settlements in 1865, limiting the extent of British jurisdiction to within 5 miles of the seacoast or gun range from the forts. This proclamation, which the Right Honorable Mr. Caldwell ordered to be recalled, was, in spite of such orders, permitted by Colonel Conran to stand. And so that absolutely pissed them off because they felt, as it goes on to say, that they had special privileges to go into the interior of Africa to do
Hmm.
their trading, but that proclamation said you can't go no more than 5 miles,
Right.
outside of those gates. So that absolutely ticked them off so much to the point on page 175 they decide in the year 1867 a convention was entered in between the British government and that of the Netherlands for the exchange of
Yes.
territory, by which convention certain of the tribes, Wassaws, Dinkaras, Chaffils, and Commandas, etc., who had hitherto lived under British rule, were handed over to the Dutch. Now, so just let that sink
Hmm.
in. We are upset that you put this proclamation that we can't travel. So you know what we gonna do? We just gonna give you to somebody else.
Hmm.
We just gonna give you to somebody else.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
How
Dutch
the
didn't last
hell
very
do you
long.
have that kind of power?
'Cause we
That's
allow it.
crazy. That's
We allow
crazy.
it. Hey,
It is,
hey,
man.
evil
It's
can only prevail when good people sit back and do nothing.
Oh, they hey, that's when they really got together. Like, we got to get this fancy
Hmm.
confederation together
Right.
right
Yeah.
now.
Hmm.
Right now, they absolutely
Hmm.
oppose that. But that is just why I thought that was just the mindset and the thinking, man. That's that whole period. But as we say, and as we're going through this, it's like ain't nothing changes. Just different people, different scenarios, different circumstances, and
and
still go
it's
ahead.
kind of, I mean, this is kind of off topic, but not really. I mean, I make the connection. Some people may not, but I'm playing a video game right now called Final Fantasy VII.
We talked
Mm-hmm.
about that. Yeah.
They got the new one, the remake trilogy come out. I like Final Fantasy, but anyways, um, the game itself, the story. I like these games because of the story. And the people
Hmm.
that make these stories are not people from the government. These are, people like you and me that have a job. They enjoy doing it, and they get a bunch of people together and they create these awesome stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the whole story around Final Fantasy is kind of like what we're talking about in all these history books. The whole game centers around government and corporations controlling people, causing
Hmm.
division, manipulating narratives, and all those things. And so it's
Yes.
kind of cool when I'm reading, playing this game, reading these books at the same time. I can make a
Mm-hmm.
lot of connections.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you facts on that. Me and this dude had a conversation about. I mean, between games and movies, you can't watch the regular TV or news anymore. I feel like because
Mm-hmm.
it's narrated to fit their agenda. But
Mm-hmm.
these movies and these games, if you just take a little time and pay attention, like when he brought up Final Fantasy, I brought up Assassin's Creed. My brother,
Yeah,
my son was playing Assassin's Creed, and I was like, "Is that a black dude hanging off a tree in the background?" I'm like,
Wow.
what
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
that? You know what I mean? But the
Mm-hmm.
symbolism, and I'm exaggerating. Don't get me wrong, but the symbolism in these games, these movies, is just it's if you understand them, you'll get the whole point of view. Like I can't
Mm-hmm.
even. We watched when I watched Superman the other day. I was flabbergasted. I just sit there, had my mouth open, like, oh my goodness! Like, could the writing is on the wall?
Mm-hmm.
It's just that people are not paying attention to it
Mm-hmm.
because of distraction and a million other things that go on in this world. You know what I mean? But if
Mm-hmm.
we just need to stop and pay attention, goodness, man, it just gets me fired up, fellas. Gets me
Well,
fired up.
listen. So your mind is open. Your mind is open because we're doing this every day. So you
Hmm.
get to see the similarities, if you will,
Hmm.
from the antiquity into now. So it does, and they do put it out there in those movies. They
They
put it
do.
out there very very plain and clear. However, if you yes, you are asleep. I do believe though, if you're not reading, you're not going to make that connection. It's going to be very hard to
Hmm.
make that connection. But I'm in
Yeah.
agreement with you. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, Assassin's Creed is actually those are good games. And when my kids are a little
Mhm.
bit older, because it has violence in it, I'm gonna let them play those games because I've actually learned a lot of history from playing that game. Like when
Mhm.
I played Assassin's Creed Valhalla,
Mhm.
very in-depth game, but man, there's actually a lot of history in that game if you take
Yeah.
the time to look the stuff
Mhm.
up.
Yeah. When it becomes entertainment, and we use that word, I mean, when it becomes entertainment, you're no longer paying attention to things. You're just looking to be entertained.
Yes.
But in my mindset, I've changed it to be investigations. I call movies and games investigations. So that means that throughout the movie and throughout the game, I'm investigating the things that are going on. You know
And
what
that's
I
why I
mean?
don't
So it's
like
the mindset.
that's why I like the RPGs, the games that cause you to think and slow down and stop. It's not
Mm-hmm.
bang bang, like the
Right.
first person shooters that's not teaching anything.
Right.
That's right. That's right. All right, Kings.
And there's
Anybody-
something just real quick. There's something because I've been taught, and a lot of people do. Like they teach, like these things are bad. Like it's wrong for us to play video games. So I don't know if you guys ever heard of that. Like you're lazy. You're
Oh yeah.
I'm like,
Oh yeah.
no, it's how you. It's a tool. It's just how you use it. Just
That's
like
right.
a car.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I definitely do agree.
Anything on page 177?
177. Yeah, no, let me go.
So I got some pretty long notes here. Let me get to page 1.
I know that's what I'm looking at. So the democracy helped start a war. The Ashanti ruler of the Ashanti Empire in the British administration, Robert William Harley. Elmina and the surrounding territories belong within the sphere of the authority. British officials had interfered with that relationship, and Britain intended to reduce Ashanti influence. Man, even just that war lasting for over 100 years, not just with the British, but just with multiple people. Just that's astounding. That's astounding.
Well, it's because the author is not saying every Ashanti action was automatically justified. But he's trying to say is that the British actions helped create conditions for war.
Right, it did.
Right,
yeah.
And the colonial conflicts often ignored those provocations.
Right.
Let's see. For this, the modern day connection on this page, wars are often presented as starting when one side moves troops, fires the first shot, or crosses a border, or launches an attack. But serious analysis asks what happened before that. What promises were made, what territory was taken, and what warnings were ignored.
And they definitely created a whole bunch of
And that still happens today.
Oh,
Absolutely.
God.
Like we just go talk about the Strait of Bermuda, the newest thing.
Yes.
They're creating scenarios.
They are.
Yep.
They really are. They really
did
are.
this back then, even when they didn't have the technology like we do.
Almost the same strategy. Same strategy. It just repeated.
But it's easier to do now. And I've been looking into this. When you look at like Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg didn't invent Facebook, man. The government invented Facebook and planted Zuckerberg as the CEO.
I've heard that.
I believe that 100%.
Yeah.
I believe they had that system developed years before Mark Zuckerberg came on the scene. And they used Mark Zuckerberg to implement Facebook into the world.
Yeah.
And what has come from that? The biggest psyops in history.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
I've heard that. I mean, I don't know if it was Google or Microsoft or something. Steve Jobs, Microsoft from his Microsoft. When he was building his company and it got to a point where it was a conglomerate. I mean, it was a major corporation. The government came to him and was like, we need to use your company. We need your company for this, and this. And if you say no, it's taxation. There's all these criminal defenses, criminal things against you. So you really have no choice. So even Christopher built an app that allowed people to do this. If our government can find a way to use it to criminalize people or to do this, they're going to come right at Chris and let him know, we need your company to do this. And if you say no, you could be sitting in jail for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
That's
Or
right.
they're going to allow you to be this spokesperson of it while they do their deed in the background. And again, I mean, we say there's freedom in America, but every level has its own cage.
Yeah.
Every level has its own cage.
Yep.
You're right, man. You're right. You're right on the nail, brother.
That's right. On page 178, Let's see. The Europeans knew that the Ashantis had some rights to Elmina. They were talking about that because they were paying that amenity.
Hmm.
The Netherlands were paying that to them. So the British wanted to know, did they have any rights to that? And the Ashantis did. However, the British didn't want to hear that noise as well either.
Hmm.
They didn't want to, as we say, any type of unity or anything. They did not want that to have. They wanted total control. Total control.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
And
Hmm.
so let's see on page 179, the people refused.
Yep.
They refused.
Yep.
They refused.
Yep.
And so that's when, as Chris has spoken on, you had the traditional rule of Elamina, Nana Kobina Igyan, and how he was taken. They asked him to come to a meeting and they arrested
Hmm.
him and shipped him off
Hmm.
for 25 years.
You know what? It repeats itself. I mean, the Haitian Revolution was the same way. Toussaint Louverture. I mean, when he wrote the Constitution for Haiti, and then they Britain invited him over for a meeting, and they threw him in prison for 30, 40 years. Like, come
Yep.
on, we are doing the same. It's just repeating itself.
It just
We
repeating
have to
itself.
stop. We have to stop.
Yes.
But that goes back to being sovereign. You are
Nick,
now you're not allowed to be sovereign anymore.
right,
Yeah.
If you want
right,
to control your destiny and create your, you can't. You can't
right,
be in control of yourself. The government is in
right.
control of you. They don't want
Yeah.
you to be sovereign.
Yeah,
And then they, in my opinion, they
right.
get people brainwashed to think sovereign to be sovereign is bad. Like these
Hmm.
sovereign people, like now we
Oh
have this
yes,
we have the stigma that being sovereign is like those are bad people. I'm like, why are those people bad for
right.
having those thoughts for wanting freedom?
One
Hmm.
second, Keith. Keep going. 1 second.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with you on that. I mean, I know
And
we've
that's what
talked
this
on
is.
that.
It's them taking their sovereignty away. These people are trying to unify together to create um, um, a government body within themselves. But it's really
Hmm.
important that Nana Kobana Ignan, he was not stating himself as a king, and the title he gave himself, the Europeans would say that he was king, but he
Right,
specifically says, that matters because Nanya Kobenya, it shows that he did not view himself as an absolute ruler
right,
who could do whatever he wanted. He understood himself as bound by oath to his people,
right,
right?
right, right.
So he didn't have absolute power or law or anything like
Hmm.
that. It was the will of the
Hmm.
people, and
Right,
the Europeans saw that and didn't want them to have that sovereignty that was building within.
right, right. And there's something that you mentioned about that too. Even in the Western world, you know, when there's a group started and there is a leader, that's the first thing they do is try to establish a leader. Meaning, if there's a group started and there's not a leader, they try to establish a leader because then it
Mhm.
becomes an organization. It becomes and there's a leader attached to that. Then you just cut the head of the snake and thinking that everything else
Mhm.
is fall. You know what I mean? And the fact that he didn't consider himself a leader, but he was doing this in root of his people. But they're going
Mhm.
to try their best to find a leader and establish as that as a narrative. So when they do cut
Mhm.
the head of the snake, everything else just dies.
But see, that's a
You
key
know,
Mhm.
word. You said
Mhm.
leader, and that's what these people were. They were leaders, not rulers.
right,
Okay,
Mhm. That's right.
to be a leader
right.
is different than to be a
Just excuse me.
ruler.
You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
You
you're
know,
absolutely right, bro.
because
Yeah.
Right,
leaders are picked among people, and it doesn't mean you're elevated above them.
That's
A
right.
right.
leader is somebody that has experience, has
Right.
Mm-hmm.
compassion, and knows how to
Right,
delegate, right?
right.
And is
Yes,
willing to put themselves in front of other people ahead of themselves.
I
That's
agree.
what a leader is.
Yes,
And
sir.
people recognize people like that. And then,
Right.
Mhm.
give credit where credit is due. If that person helps
Yes.
people out, people might uplift that person, might elevate them.
Right.
Right.
Doesn't
Yeah.
mean
And
and that
You're right,
person
bro.
stays humble. That's what a
Yes.
leader is.
Yeah.
yeah,
Real
and
We're
that's
leader.
not
and
allowed
they
to have
Big
leaders
time.
no more.
when they spoke on that too. That's exactly what the leader meant. He was not above the people. He just
Right.
had to show kindness and delegate, I guess, the finances, if you will. But no, he was not above everybody. You're
Mm-hmm.
exactly right. And but they did the same thing to I know I'm moving along here, but on page uh 181, they did the same thing um to Nana Primba,
Mm-hmm.
invited him
Mm-hmm.
to a meeting as well. And the British governor of the Gold Coast colony then pressed for immediate payment. This is after they defeated the Ashanti, and so to make them pay reparations, if you will.
But that Wolseley, when they put Wolseley's in power there for those battles, I mean, he was dirty.
He was very dirty.
He caused a lot of confusion amongst the Ashanti people.
Yes,
and let them fight amongst themselves, and then he came in and just destroyed everybody.
Yes, he did, and they did the same thing to that leaders too. He couldn't. They asked for 50,000 ounces of gold, which the king knew he didn't have. Well, the king couldn't have that, and so it arrested him right there. Same thing. He was gone for a quarter of a century from his people. Boom, bam. We'll see you later.
Yep.
So I wanted to bring that up. On that one for a modern day connection. Is the United Nations, the Compensation Commission, created after Iraq's 1990 invasion and occupation of Kuwait. The event is after the Gulf War. The United States Security Council created the United Nations Compensation Commission in 1991 to process claims and pay compensation for losses and damages resulted directly from Iraq's invasion and occupation of Kuwait. The commission received about 2.7 million claims seeking about $352.5 billion. It ultimately awarded compensation to about 1.5 million claimants and paid out 52.4 billion, and the final payment was made January of 22nd. The commission later declared that Iraq had fulfilled its compensation obligations.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, all you can do is laugh about it. You really can't eat.
Yeah. It is wild. It is really, really wild. Moving on to page 182. Page 182. Let's see here. So, with that being said, when they got Nana Prempa taken away, then they try to. It's in that third paragraph there. So events in the Gold Coast did not stand still, and while Nana Prempeh was still at Alameda Castle, important decisions were being taken at Cape Coast, only 8 miles away. These arose out of a new Crown Lands Bill, which served Branforth Griffith, the governor of the Gold Coast, which to pass into law. The bill was to place the management of the lands in the hands of the government. So they wanted to take the land, the rest the leader, and now we want to pass this bill, take the land. Bill out of nowhere, as most bills are done, in my opinion, just to give somebody justification to do things. And so they tried.
Yeah.
But however,
that's when they were trying to take the Alameda Castle back.
And so the bill was redrawn provisionally, but however, it was brought back, and they did pass it anyway. But out of that, before that, the summoning of the council led ultimately to the creation of the Aborigines Right and Protection Society, which was also a big deal too, with 37-year-old J.W. DeGraff Johnson as its first vice president, and the wealthy Mr. J.W. Say as president. So I mean, as we could see, man, they were truly trying to fight for everything for themselves, and they had to fight for something that was already theirs. They had to fight just to get it back.
Yeah, that paper genocide was powerful.
Yes,
it was powerful. I mean, you write it on a sheet of paper and it's effective. I mean, when people didn't understand it, they didn't understand it. And I heard somebody the other day just recently say that laws were God's laws, and how could it be God's laws when land was free, water was free?
Yeah.
So, and this is men's laws, not God's laws.
That's right. So on page 183, 183, there speaks of the Honorable Joseph Abraham Casey Hayward. He was very prominent into the Ashanti Confederacy and trying to bring nationalism back to the Gold Coast, to fight for his country, if you would. He was a main proponent of that. Let's see, page one.
You talk about the Aborigines Rights Protection Society?
Yes.
That showed that African constitutional resistance could work. Used delegation, legal arguments, public legitimacy, and directed people to imperial authority to defend land rights.
So
Yep.
that so they had to as Heru just said, the paper battle. They had to create their own paper battle.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know what? Can I bring up a modern day example of this
Yes, go ahead, brother.
of land grabs? We got a specific, like the modern day example, Standing Rock Sioux tribes legal and political fight over the
Yes.
Dakota Access Pipeline.
Hmm.
Yeah.
The
That was just
Standing
recent.
Rock Sioux tribe opposed the Dakota Access Pipeline crossing at Lake Oha, arguing that the project threatened the tribe's water supply, sacred places, and treaty rights. And the tribe and its supporters also used legal action and public advocacy to challenge federal approval for the project. And the U.S. Army Corps of Engineer, they just basically just gave the company whatever he wanted and said do it,
Mm-hmm.
regardless
Mhm.
of the land rights.
Yeah.
Kind of like
Yeah.
me and you were talking the other day, RP,
Yep.
about
Eminent
just government. If
domain.
they want land, they're just going to
Yep.
take it.
That's gonna
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah.
Slap
You know,
that
it's,
eminent.
yeah.
Go ahead, bro.
I was just gonna bring up the Osage Orange Indians. You know, out
Yeah.
here in Missouri. You know, when they got relocated to Oklahoma, and when they were relocated to Oklahoma, they gave them land. The government gave them land, and the land had oil on it.
Mhm.
Oil made them billionaires overnight. And again, exaggerating, but millionaires overnight. But then what they do? They gave the Osage Indians white overseers. And it basically stated that if you died, your land went to your overseer. So they just started murdering all the Osage Indians. I mean, it's
Oh my God.
corruption
man.
at its finest.
Yes, bro.
You know what I'm
I
getting?
mean,
The first gangster was called the first European was a gangster. Those were true gangsters based upon the graph's depiction of Europeans. Those were the terms were used as gangsters, mobsters.
Right. That's so wild. I think they made a movie out of that, didn't they?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio's in the movie.
Right.
It's like a 3.5 hour long movie, but it's interesting. It's interesting.
I need to see that. That. And so, along with Mr. Haywood, you have Mr. J.P. Brown and J.W. DeGraff Johnson. Those three gentlemen were very instrumental in fighting for the Gold Coast rights and for the Confederation, if you will. I mean, they really stood up, and they are very prominent in African history on the Gold Coast for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. And it's so funny. There's another book that I have which talks about the Barbara Pirates, and it talks about the Gold Coast, but it talks about the white gold, which was the European slave trade going to the Gold Coast. I just thought how this all correlates between black slaves and European slaves.
Mm-hmm.
The Gold Coast was used. The term was used quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in my opinion, the Britons were pirates too.
Yeah. They're not labeled that, but that's I would say the same thing. Yeah.
I mean, cool. They might have been a government, but they were pirates. They got on their boats. They sailed down the West Coast. They attacked people, captured, took their wealth, took their riches, and then sent it back to where they lived. That's the definition of a pirate.
Yeah. I mean, even our president mentioned about the Somalians being pirates. I mean, it's again, if you understand history, there's a backlash to that. you know.
That's right. I thought on page 186, if you will. If you gentlemen got anything between there, you can. I'm moving on to 186.
Yes, sir.
And I thought down there at the bottom. Now, Mr. Haywood, Hayford, definitely. Page 185, 186, 187. Like he really stands up for his country with his speeches, and I can read all three of them now, but I'm not going to. So on page 186, I thought this was interesting. As a practicing barrister, as a member of his own council, and as a member of the Legislative Council, Casey Lee Hayford did in fact give his life's blood for the immolation of the lot of his people. His patriotism transcended tribal boundaries and went far beyond the Gold Coast, where he was the man who conceived the idea of the West African Congress and brought it into being. When the British took over Ashanti, deported the young king, and later demanded the sacred golden stool on the grounds that they were in Ashanti to end human sacrifices, barbarous customs, and slavery. Mr. Casey wrote a big article on that, they wanted the golden stool.
All this for a golden stool.
Yeah,
man, bro.
Yeah,
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
it's all about the money. All about the money and the slaves.
It says that's it. Money and power.
Yeah. You kids
Wow.
got anything else to add to
No,
the
sir.
rest of the pages?
I'm
Listen,
looking at 187.
Yeah. I mean, it's
yeah,
just,
yeah.
and again, it's just the same. I mean, after that, it just gets worse.
Yeah.
It just gets
Yeah.
worse.
Hey, African Glory, people. African Glory, author J.C.
Must
DeGraff
read.
Johnson.
It's a
Must
must read.
read.
Yeah.
It is
Must
a
read.
great, great book.
And the book is what it's about 50, 60 years old.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's
It's
an
Yes.
old
about
book.
50 or 60 years old. So
Yes. Yeah, 1950. No, almost 1954 when it was first published.
oh, okay. Okay. So longer than that. Okay.
Yeah.
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 Almost
But
70 years. Yeah, 72.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it is a great, great book. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that one. Our next one, not to jump ahead, will be
The Moors.
The Moors.
Moors in Spain.
The
Wow.
Moors in Spain by
It's gonna be
Stanley
interesting
Lane
book right
Poole.
there. That's an interesting book right there too.
Stanley Lane Poole. That'll be next Sunday. Yeah, that was a good book. That was a
Yeah.
good book right there,
Yes, sir.
man.
Yes,
I
sir.
really like that one. And so here,
Can we finish it with one more modern
gonna give
day
a little-
connection
What you got, King? What
with
you
this
got?
book?
go on with it, brother.
This is about
Go on
Saddam
with it.
Hussein and the 2003 Iraq War.
Mm,
The event
Hmm.
is the United States and the United Kingdom argued before the war that Saddam Hussein's Iraq possessed weapons of mass destruction and posed a major security threat.
Yes.
After the invasion, the Iraq Survey Group was created to investigate Iraq's weapons of mass destruction programs.
Mhm.
Its final report, also known as the Dulfer Report, was based on the ISG's work from 2003 to 2004 and gave a comprehensive account of Iraq's weapons of mass destruction program after the invasion.
Right.
Government authority, the main authorities were the United States government and the United Kingdom government and the Iraq Survey Group, which reports to U.S. intelligence leadership, reporting that the Dulfer findings stated that the top U.S. armed inspector found no evidence
Mhm.
Iraq had produced weapons of mass destruction in 1991, and that Saddam did not have chemical and biological stockpiles when the war began.
Yeah.
So why that connects is it's not the same as Britain and Ashanti, but is a clear modern example of a government using moral security justifications for war,
Mhm.
followed by later evidence that undermined central public claim. That careful lesson is not always that all wars are lies. You know what I mean?
Right.
mhm,
Right. Yeah.
mhm. That's
Yeah.
a
So
great point.
they told the public, hey, Saddam has weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
They didn't have the evidence, but
Right.
they knew that people that would cause fear to get support of people for us going
Yes.
and the war.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying Saddam Hussein was a good guy. I'm not defending him.
Right,
Right.
I'm
I
just
know what you're
stating
saying.
facts of what happened.
right,
Right.
Well,
Right.
wait, aren't they saying the same thing too? Didn't they say the same thing too about Iran?
Same thing.
So when you think about it today, like,
Same thing.
Are they lying to us again?
Oh, bro, absolutely.
Exactly.
Bro, if you listen to them, if you're a conscious man in America,
Mhm.
it's confusing. It's confusing. Again,
very
in February, March, we destroyed everything. They had
Yep.
no navy. They had no this. We destroyed their their nuclear capability. A month later, oh nope, we didn't. We got to go to war. It's like I thought we did it. I thought we already did it. But
Mhm.
people just they don't recollect. They don't go back and say, hold on, didn't you just say we already did this?
Mhm.
So why are we doing it again? Why is it costing us $8.5 billion taxpayers' money to go to war for 6 months?
That's
You
right.
know what I mean? Countries are already broken up.
Bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then we're now in
Mhm.
this situation. It just
Yep.
again, and then here to simply say, hey, we have an agreement with Iran. Guess what? Stocks go up. People start investing again. Next 2 days later, oh no, and then stocks go down. It's a money
It's a
scheme.
game, baby.
It's a
Yeah.
money scheme.
Always.
But we as the pawns are just sitting here twiddling our thumbs like it's gonna get better for us. And the thing about it, like I said, what hurts me the most is that I believe that in some mindset, we're already dead and gone. It is our kids who would have to deal with this problem the worst because it's only getting worse. It is only getting worse.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, yeah, King. Yeah, King. Let me
Don't get me
give you.
started.
Yeah,
Let's move on. Let's move
let me
on.
read this. Oh no, yeah, let me read this little bit of insight into African glory. So African glory connects to real life today because its central argument still matters. Who tells history shapes how people see themselves. First published in 1954, the book presented Africa's ancient civilizations from an African perspective and pushed back against stereotyped racist accounts of the continent. That remains relevant wherever people struggle with distorted education, cultural erasure, or identity. In Life Now, DeGraff Johnson's work reminds readers that reclaiming history is not nostalgia. It is dignity, clarity, and power for the present. And I thought that ties in real good to what we're talking about in the book. But it is a great book. I encourage all to go get that and start today. Start
Yeah.
today. Because everything that we're talking about, as we are seeing, it is like it doesn't even have to go very far, but it is just a repeating cycle. Doesn't matter with civilization, with time frame, it is all repeating, and that's just the
Hmm.
way it is. For us, the way it is, and it's not
Hmm.
good. It's like that thing, as the saying goes: "Who's going to break the chain? Who's going to break the cycle?
Right.
Who's going to break the
Right.
cycle?"
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm gonna add to that real quick, RP, if you'd allow me to.
Go ahead, bro.
And this is something what I kind of came across is I think it's called the Obama effect. And what
Hmm.
it is, this is the strategy used too. If a people don't have an identity, they don't have a language, they don't have a history or don't think they have a history, or the history they believe came out of slavery and should be thankful to the
Hmm.
West, that's a psychological thing. You know, Frances Cress Wilson is
Hmm.
one of my I love her books on psychology, right? But you know, there
Hmm.
is something that was called the Obama effect, and what it is, it describes a boost in confidence in academics among Black students during Obama's election. People said they hated Obama, but why? You know what I mean? Yeah,
Right.
he did this, he did that, and is he part of the same spectrum of the government? Absolutely. Can he be trusted?
Hmm.
Absolutely not. Right. But
Hmm.
to know that Black academics increased through his era because they were people, Black people were able to see, and I use that term loosely, right? Were able to see the achievement of another Black man. It spiked that. It
Hmm.
spiked. So Kamala Harris wasn't just about a female and her particular political views. It was a fact to me that she was considered a Black woman, right?
Hmm.
And a Black woman to get on the stage in front of the world at a time where unity, right, could be electrified, right? That would have been another problem.
That's
You
a
know what I
great point.
mean? I think we look at things. You know, they give us this narrative, all her political this and her political
Hmm.
that. I don't believe it
She
has
was
anything to do
wild,
with that.
man.
Well, you know, the thing about it, it's all wild. It don't matter who you put in office. You got one lesser evil or greater evil. I mean,
That's right.
it's all to me the same thing. And first of all,
Yes,
I don't think our country's ran by the individual presidents anyway. It's ran
that
by
too as well.
corporations. It's ran about money. So
That
Chris
too
is
as
a
well.
billionaire, and Chris says, "Hey, I want to, you know, this and this to happen." Well, Chris gives $1 million, $2 million, $3, $4 million to a certain political figure. That's gonna
Yep.
go ahead with it. It's gonna
Well,
go ahead
it's
with it.
like Elon Musk, donated 300 million
Mm-hmm.
to the 300 million to
Yes.
the. I mean, come on,
I mean, that's why
come
I
Mm-hmm.
believe
come
when it
on.
comes to our elections, we need to get rid of any. Like, I don't think we should be able to. I don't think anyone should be able to support. No company should be able to support
Hmm,
um, a political candidate.
hmm. There could be
And
some
like, I don't
value in
think
that.
money should be involved when like, we have millions of dollars and it's all who has the best, who has the most money is generally the people who wins
That's all it is. It's
because
like who's got the
they can create
biggest
better
pot.
campaigns, they have better advertising money, right? They can
Yeah,
create better narratives to put out
yeah.
there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean they're spreading truth.
That's true.
Yeah. And have y'all
That's
looked
true.
into the electoral college?
They're talking about that big time here
Oh
lately.
gosh. Oh
I
my
mean, electoral
goodness.
college is it's
Rooted off
not
slavery.
it's
Rooted.
it's it's um it's very complicated.
Bruh.
We still need it. We can't if we get rid of it, it would not be good. It would not be good if we got rid of the electoral college.
How
But
you
I'm not
know?
saying the electoral college is the answer either.
Yeah.
But if we go to a majority vote, that would not be good.
Why?
Why?
Yeah.
So think of California when the government spread that narrative when trans and I'm not saying anything about what my opinions are on these. I'm just stating
Right.
facts. the homosexual, the transgender, the ideology, the gender crap, when that was all popular and going crazy a couple of years ago, if you would have gave anybody in America the ability to vote, non-electoral college, majority vote on their phone where they can just hit a yes or no answer. I'm sorry, there are just so many people was confused at that time, and our laws would have completely changed. I mean, with a majority vote, it'd be like there's more people in California than in Missouri, by millions and millions and millions of people. So Missouri would have no representation. We're United States. Every state should all actually be its own country. We are not America. We are United States of America.
You know how many wars there would be if every state was their own country?
I mean, technically we are.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we are. We are the United States of America, right?
Yeah.
That's why we have border lines in the states. That every state has agreed to work together. Okay, we are united in that fact. But when majority vote on a scale when it comes to the federal government, we can't have New York as a majority vote when Missouri only has what 3 million people. What's our population? Missouri is like I think 7 million, 8 million for the state, while just the city of New York itself has more people than that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, listen, it all.
And the people in New York think completely different than how you and me think living out here in Missouri.
Yeah.
Like the way we live is completely different. So
it all needs to be. It all needs to be looked at and reexamined. Constitution, the whole shebang of it. It's written so many years ago into modern times, and with technology, it is absolutely completely different than what it was back then. King, you got that spotlight?
I do. All right, Kings. Our spotlight for today is going to be Sarah Boone. Was an African American inventor and dressmaker. Let me go back. My wife sent me this because I love to iron my clothes, and I use the ironing board and iron, of course, to do so. Right. I use my kids. When you walk out of the house, gotta have a crease in your shirt, gotta have a crease in your jeans. All right.
I used to be that way.
Yeah. So she sent me this. Right. So Sarah Boone was an African-American inventor and dressmaker, best known for receiving a U.S. patent in 1892 for an improving ironing board. While she did not invent the first ironing board, she redesigned it to be better, meeting the needs of people making and repairing fitted clothing. Sarah recognized that the flat ironing board of her time made it difficult to press curved and narrow parts of garments, especially women's dresses and sleeves. Her patent design featured a narrow curved board that made it easier to iron sleeves, shoulders, and fitted clothing. A reversible design allowing garments to be turned and pressed from different angles without creating unwanted creases. A more practical shape for professional dressmaking and home sewing. Her invention improved efficiency and helped produce cleaner, more precise results at a time where tailored clothing was common. One of the few Black women in the 19th century to receive a U.S. patent, demonstrated how everyday problems could be solved through practical innovation. Her work contributed to the evolution of the modern ironing board, even through today's versions have added features such as adjustable heights and padded covers. Sarah's story is a reminder that many important inventions are improvements rather than completely new creations. Innovations, making an existing tool work better, can have a lasting impact. Her ironing board redesign is an example of how practical experience can lead to invention that influence everyday life for generations. Again, her U.S. patent number is 473653, issued on April 26, 1892 for an improvement of the ironing board. Thank you, Sarah, for your contribution.
I was just getting ready to say thank you, Sarah Boone. Thank you very much. King, that was a great podcast. Great podcast.
It was.
Kings.
It was.
Great podcast. Anybody got anything to say on the way out of here?
Love you, Kings.
Love you, man.
Absolutely. Much love to both the Kings on here with me. Thank you all for joining Sunday Book Club. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this with someone who values meaningful conversation, and join us next Sunday for a new book as we continue building through wisdom, experience, and purpose. King Christopher, take us out of here.
As always, our 3 pillars of success for life Faith, trust in your own power. Believe deeply in your own purpose. Build unshakable confidence through action. Dedication, show up when no one's watching. Stand firm in your commitment to grow. Put in the reps mentally, physically, and daily. And lastly, what we live off of is discipline. Forge your character through consistency. Set your code and follow it without compromise. Control your impulses and command your results.
All right. Peace, Kings.
Peace.